I've been toying with the idea of building a little kind of sliding drawer bottom, essentially, for my thicknesser, just because it's heavy and awkward as shit to pick up. My thicknesser lives underneath this bench. It's kind of heavy and awkward to take out and whatnot. So I'm thinking of putting, bolting essentially a piece of plywood to the shelf here, putting a pair of drawer sliders on it, bolting another piece of plywood to that, and then using these mounting holes here, attach the thicknesser to the top piece of plywood so I can just pull it out, feed the material through, put it back in. We'll see how we go. Alright, so I ended up with a whole bunch of random 3/4 inch plywood. Just got to take off all the edges and whatnot and clean it up a little bit, but not too bad. It's just a shop project, so I'm not too worried about it. My slit's hilarious. Okay, so there's the two pieces cut out. They're both a little bit shy of 6x4, 600 by 400 rather. Yeah. Essentially, I need to make sure that I leave a gap here to bolt down the thicknesser and still have the sliders. So the next job will be to figure out this width here, which I already did and wrote down. It's 46 millimeters wide, there. So the trick is to put it into the router table and just kind of make essentially a rabbet that's half as thick as this. I might make it a little bit less than half so there's a gap there so they don't rub against each other. We'll see what happens. I'm just kind of making this up and throwing it together. But in the meantime, safety glasses, very important. Prescription safety glasses, even better. So let's say 12 and a half. 12 and a bit. 12.7. We'll make it 5 mil. You know what? Close enough. Quick note about my router table. It just happens to have this slot here is really handy for, you know, chucking your pens in. It sits under the surface. So handy. Anyway, that's a digression. Not sure how I'll do this with one hand, but yeah. So you have to go down a bit there, yeah? Yeah. Now I've lined up the fence to the edge of the runner here. I find whenever possible it's best to line things up with the actual material that you're using instead of measuring it and then setting it with the ruler and then, you know, it's just easier.
Remember, kids, safety first, safety first, safety first.
Okay, yeah, you can see the two bits are in there and there's a gap between them. Yeah, so now I just need to screw the things in. When you put these runners on, you have to make sure they're absolutely parallel, right? To one another across the length of the piece, you know. So to that end, I've just kind of screwed them in place and I've got a stick here that is exactly the distance between them at this end, right? So this story stick, I guess, fits in right here. Everything's clamped down. I'm going to screw it here and here. And with only 2 points down, it should be able to pivot a little bit, you know. And then I'm going to go to the other side, put the stick in, see it's a little bit off, right? Put the stick in and then screw down the other end. I'm going to use the square as well, just to make sure. Alright, so that wasn't too painful. The hard part, of course, like always, is going to be getting the top one onto that. Alright. So I've got this heavy bastard up here. Friggin' thing weighs a ton. But I was able to get it up there. I got a hole punch in here and just kind of bashed in a little dent. There we go. Just probably break my wrist out. Okay. You can see I've made a little mark there. The middle of that is where I need to cut. Alrighty. So now I've got this thing upside down here. I've got some holes. These are flush, so all 4 points are below. I used some fairly heavy-duty M8 bolts, 75 mil long. They're a bit excessive, you know, but I wanted them to be quite solid, you know what I mean? So this isn't moving at all, and it actually sounds sounds all right. You know. Now on this side, because this is actually fairly thin steel, I'm going to want to reinforce it. Okay, so I got this part down nice and solid. Okay, now comes the tricky part, where I take this bit out of the slider and I put it onto here in such a way that this will then slide into there, rather. What I'm doing now, I've got a piece and I'm going to use these sideways holes here, and I'm going to put a pilot hole here and here, and there's other holes in this new storyboard that I'm making, so I'm going to kind of make them really obvious with a Sharpie. And I'm going to use this as a story stick so I can make these two holes make sense, and then probably these two, etc., etc., all the way down. You know, there are several holes that go this way. This is home stretch, usually where things start to go wrong. In theory, that should slide into that, and it should be that, and I should call it a day. If it doesn't work, then I'm gonna have to, I don't know, swear a lot and go have dinner and figure it out tomorrow, probably. Fairly obvious miscalculation here. This thing weighs so much that these sliders can't take it. I gotta go get some heavier duty sliders. Oh my god. Oh well. The theory is sound. Now I got some better ways to do it for next time.